You think the Mona Lisa is Leonardo da Vinci's greatest masterpiece? Your trip to Florence is going to turn everything on its head, let you know. Florence feels like one giant open-air museum, and it can be seriously overwhelming with all its Renaissance wonders to choose from. But no worries, I'm here to help you navigate through the chaos with 6 mind-blowing first times ever that you just should not miss visiting Florence. If you're strolling past the famous Ponte Vecchio and find yourself on the other side of the Arno, make sure you pop into the church of Santa Maria del Carmine. Inside, you will discover the Brancacci Chapel, a spot so legendary that art historians call it the Sistine Chapel of the early Renaissance. It's a must-see, because you can experience and detect the transformation from International Gothic, early Renaissance and High Renaissance. As 2 artists, Masolino, International Gothic, and Masaccio, early Renaissance, have painted together at the same time on different biblical scenes of the same chapel. And decades later, this work has been finished by the High Renaissance painter Filippino Lippi. Ready for a fun game? Before you dive into history, try to guess who painted what. Here are some hints. If you see a halo that looks like a flat plate about to fall off a head, that's Masolino's work. Now look at the hair. It is so wet it might drip. Amazing, right? Clearly early Renaissance. Masaccio painted a young man with dripping wet hair and another one shivering as if he's freezing in the cold. This level of realism was groundbreaking at the time. Masolino translated Small Thomas. Think of him as the master of the old school. His Adam and Eve are like Barbie and Ken, floating around with no sense of gravity. Their innocence and almost weightless appearance screams Gothic style. Also a curious detail in Italy, Eve was eating from a fig tree and not the forbidden apple. And the expulsion from the Garden of Eden by Masaccio, translated as Big Thomas. The young revolutionary who shook things up before he turned 27. He's bringing Adam and Eve's despair to life with such intensity, you can practically feel their sorrow. His Adam and Eve have shadows, weight, and real gut-wrenching emotions. Also, their body movement looks very naturalistic. Over at the Basilica of Santa Maria Novella, which you find right in front of the main train station of Florence, you will find Masaccio's The Holy Trinity in there. This isn't just any old fresco. It's the first time anyone ever nailed 3-dimensional art on a flat wall. Imagine the jaws dropping back in 1427. Masaccio was the first painter ever to bring in a linear perspective, thanks to some tips from his buddy Brunelleschi. This fresco isn't just a painting. It's the first time in human history we get a 3-dimensional masterpiece on a flat surface. Can you guess the vanishing point? Masaccio painted it with such incredible mathematical precision that you have to stand exactly 7 feet, or about 2 meters away, to see it perfectly. Standing at the right position, you will realize by the fact that Mary's eye will correct herself. Mind blown, right? And here's a fun detail. You can see God not only standing, but also 1 feet. This fresco was a game changer, teaching artists how to create depth and space that looked real. It's like Masaccio handed everyone the secret glasses to see art in a whole new way. So when you're in Florence, give a nod to this masterpiece. It's like the grandfather of all modern art techniques. Wherever you go in Florence, the dome of the Cathedral from Florence becomes a natural point of orientation. After a whopping 131 years of construction, we find ourselves in the early years of 1418. And Florence's prestigious cathedral project was still unfinished. This whole situation was on a track to become Florence's biggest embarrassment, much like the notorious Berlin airport fiasco in Germany. Why was this such a mess? Florence was ambitiously building what they intended to be the largest church in Christendom, all while knowing there was no existing technical solution for covering the enormous crossing space. Back then, architects mostly kept their construction plans in their heads. The massive dome they envisioned required covering an octagonal crossing space about 54 meters wide. Unfortunately, no one had a clue how to construct such a dome without it collapsing. The Republic of Florence was in a pickle, to say the least. Enter Brunelleschi, the genius with a game-changing construction idea. His innovative approach led to the creation of the largest masonry dome ever built. A marvel that remains exceptional even today. Nowadays, the Santa Maria del Fiore Cathedral is one of Florence's top attractions. You can even book a ticket in advance to climb up the dome. So not only did Florence avoid a colossal flop, but they also ended up with a masterpiece that draws crowds from around the world. One of the longest lines you will find in front of the Galleria dell'Accademia, the home place that was built only for giant David. Imagine, if you will, the enormous task that lay before Michelangelo. A colossal block of marble, the likes of which hadn't graced Florence since antiquity. Previous attempts had fallen short, but our intrepid sculptor seized the challenge with gusto. Behold the result, the world's first freestanding colossal nude, hewn from a single monolithic slab. A feat of craftsmanship unparalleled in its time. Michelangelo's David stands as a testament to human ingenuity and artistic bravado. Notice how his hand is huge. His penis is tiny and his head is kind of big. There is a reason for that. This sculpture was originally meant to be installed on top of the cathedral. So Michelangelo considered how the perspective would look from below. The big hand represents David's incredible strength, and the small penis was actually a beauty symbol during the Renaissance, highlighting the importance of intellect over physicality. Beyond its good looks, David packs a political punch too. He's not just a pretty face. He's a symbol of Florence's unbeatable spirit, showing how the little guy can triumph over giants. And get this, Michelangelo chose to capture David in the nude, right before he faces off with Goliath. Talk about a gutsy move. So, as we stand in the shadow of this giant masterpiece, Let's appreciate not just its size, but the story it tells. In the heart of Florence, David isn't just a statue, he is a symbol of brains, bravery, and a bit of Renaissance sass. We are taking a virtual trip to the Uffizi Gallery to check out Leonardo da Vinci's first ever painting, the Annunciation. Yes, you heard it right. Leonardo was just 20 years old when he painted this masterpiece. Let's dive in. So, what's going on in this painting? Well, it captures the moment when the Archangel Gabriel tells Mary she's going to be the mother of Jesus. Imagine being told you're going to be the mom of the most famous baby ever. No pressure, right? Now, here's where things get super interesting. This painting is lauded with first-time innovations by young Leonardo. First up, atmospheric perspective and sfumato. Fancy words, but what do they actually mean? Atmospheric perspective is all about how objects look less details the further away they are. Leonardo nails this by making the mountains in the background a bit blurry. It's like nature's own Instagram filter. And sfumato, that's a technique Leonardo pioneered where he blends colors and edges to create a smoky, hazy effect. It's like looking through a soft focus lens, giving the painting a dreamy feel. It's also the first time we see a clear foreground, middle ground, and background, all working together seamlessly. Genius! Leonardo was also a master of color. He understood that darker colors seem to recede while brighter colors pop out. Check out the greens and yellows in this painting. They make everything feel so lifelike that you almost want to reach out and touch the terracotta structure. And here's the kicker. While most artists try to paint exactly what they saw, Leonardo was all about painting how we see. He knew our eyes blend colors and spaces naturally, and he incorporated that into his work. It's like HD wasn't even a thing for him. He was already thinking beyond it. So there you have it, the Annunciation by a 20-year-old Leonardo da Vinci. A masterpiece of innovation and a glimpse into the genius mind of a young artist who would go on to change the art world forever. If you ever get a chance, go see it in person at the Uffizi Gallery. You won't be disappointed. So, after taking a break on the beautiful terrace of the Uffizi Gallery and descending down, you come across the first declining nude painting by the Venetian painter Titian. Titled Venus of Urbino. This painting stands out for its provocative depiction of Venus. Unlike traditional portrayals, where Venus would be covering her breasts and intimate parts in a modest pose, in this painting she looks directly at the viewer with a seductive gaze, while pleasuring herself with a hand. This artwork is considered one of the first instances of soft pornography in the Renaissance period, challenging the conventions of the time and pushing boundaries in art. The audacity of the Venus of Urbino was such that it was intended to adorn private chambers, serving as a catalyst for amorous pursuits and fertility. This painting stands as a testament to the power of art to evoke desire, ignite passion, and provoke contemplation on the complexity of human nature and desire.